sides, why would we focus on them as opposed to anybody else? Okay, what did they do? Maybe accomplishments?
Should put that on the symbol.
What do you think, Skylar? What else do you think we should put?
Well, I think that we should put that. I forgot what it's called again. That he won. Wait, no.
You have.
Oh yeah, that he won the Nobel Peace Prize in Norway.
Yeah.
And he gave the prize money to the civil rights groups.
Skylar, why did they give him the Nobel Prize instead of somebody else, do you think? Why did he win it?
For his speech and for everything he did to help stop help stop racism. Nobel Peace.
Did you see anything, Joel? What you might want to?
Standing up in 1957, he helped establish the Southern Christian Leadership Corps.
Well, they were
He
trying to
helped establish the Southern Christian Leadership Corps, and he became its president.
We definitely need to write that
Alright, so what y'all got so far? 9 black students wanted to go to Little Rock High School, okay? Why is that important?
because they were standing up against.
Well, why couldn't they go to Little Rock High School?
It was an all-white school at the time, and no one wanted it.
What's the word that we use for that? Segregation, it was segregated, okay? So in the South, they were all separate but equal. Black students, white students had separate schools, they were supposed to be equal. So that's why they wanted to, they were the first step for integrating.
Oh, what day was that? September 24th. 20, I think 24th when they got in, but 25th. Yep. Because he sent people to guard the 20th.
We want to make sure, when you go back to your other groups, you want to make sure that you're telling them, like you have, there's 9 black students who wants to attend Central High School, but you need to make sure that you know why can't they go to that? Because your classmates aren't going to understand that, because they didn't have the same form as you. So you're going to need to be able to tell them they want to go to this school because,
Started later.
why?
Because they
wanted to take a stand, because they thought segregation was wrong. Okay, so we need to make sure we put that in there. That's why it's important.
Peacefully.
And then that would be a good place to, on your next little point there, to add in, you know, what were the steps they had to take to do that, because it wasn't easy, was it?
It just said civil rights organizations. That's just what I put in.
And then they had to.
She stood up for her rights on the bush, she changed the ideas. Her actions sparked the civil rights movement. And it's really, y'all hit the nail on the head there. How did her actions do that, Linda? Why were her actions important? Why was it her?
The other bitch.
She didn't get perceived.
She was already a leader for the NAACP.
Yes. And so, you know, had this
They
state
used her as a tool, sort of, to start something.
They did. Yeah, she was a champion of their cause, that's what they always said. And had this just been going on for a short time, or was this?
It had been a while. Yeah, it had been a while.
And where were they supposed to? Where was she supposed to sit?
In the back of the bush.
And what happened?
She wasn't gonna move.
Okay. Sure they're gonna move. All right. That's good. If you think anything else you want to add, you can do that too.
We could add that she was active with the National Association. I think she adds that part where she, okay, so you know, she, that owner is
I'm gonna put me
that
right
she
here.
had a lot of
But president, this is what it says. Well,
So, he was brutally murdered pretty much for just whistling at a Caucasian woman.
Yes.
I mean, that's just kind of what happened.
Yes.
But if a white boy would have done that, it just would have been considered a compliment. Like, what do you think, Kyle?
Well,
Like,
what
what do you
would
think
happen,
on this?
okay, let's just think about today. If a 14 or 15-year-old boy whistles at a grown woman, what's the repercussions for that?
Well, she just pretty much tells them it's not right. Just
Okay, you
don't do
you
that
might,
again.
you know, say don't do
You
that
don't go out
again,
to
or you
his
might be
house in the middle
slightly
of the night
offended,
and
but
take
you
him
would
out.
not definitely
Go kidnap.
go kidnap and kill that person, right? Okay, so that's how far removed we are now from how things used to be. So what you got? It's a boy who's murdered for 30. Where was he from? Why is it important? Why was it important? Tell me that, Emily.
He was used to living with white parents.
That's right. Well, he lived in Chicago. And how were things in Chicago different than in the Mississippi Delta?
It wasn't like they treated everyone equally.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Where he lived in Chicago, most people worked in factories. They didn't work as, you know, house servants and stuff like that, work in the fields. You know, they had jobs outside the home, just like any other race would. And then he comes to the Mississippi Delta, and what's different?
They treat him like big property instead of.
Okay, they almost still treat African Americans like they're pieces of property, and that is a complete culture shock for me.
Yes.
And his murder kind of set things
well, that was when,
set things rolling for the civil rights movement
That's
because
our civil rights movement.
Because there's
100 days after the murder, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat.
Okay.
9 years later, Congress passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Okay. Kyle, you get that? Got any questions? Okay, I'm gonna give everybody about, another minute, and then we're gonna get in our other groups, okay?
Okay. And so he began pretty much at help with the school segregation.
So how did they end up getting them enrolled in school? What did they eventually have to do? What's what they have to do to get them in there? They had to bring in federal troops. And did y'all notice those? Were those the first troops that were brought in?
No.
Who was sent first?
The
The
National
Arkansas National Guard.
by the governor.
By the governor.
To keep the
Keep the African American students out. And then the president had to send
people to help them in.
federal troops to say no, martial law's been declared, you know, I'm now over the Arkansas National Guard. He had to actually take control of the Arkansas National Guard to get them to allow those blacks to
Because also a judge ordered the governor to,
Not arrested, but.
And did he do it?
and
Did the governor listen? No, the actual president of the United States had to tell the governor, no, you are not to do this. Okay?
we also need to add in May 25th, 1958.
Okay, are we experts yet? Who feels like an expert?
Okay, what's good? You always feel like an expert. That's a positive sign.
Okay, now you want to go back to your home groups. Go to your home groups. Take your sheet of paper and your pencil with you.
Yes, you can make that.
Skylar, you're here with us.
Okay, this time I'm going to bring you another sheet. Now the directions on this sheet say that each expert, which who in here is now an expert? Everybody.
everybody's an expert. And what are you an expert on? The person or the event that you just studied. So every one of you is going to be important. Every one of you is going to share what you just learned with the rest of the group. And everybody in the group needs to write down the important ideas about each one. I'll go over it in just a second. You're going to see that up under Martin Luther King, there's 3 boxes. Now what do you think you're going to put in those 3 boxes? The 3 ideas that that person is going to tell you that they learned about Martin Luther King. Same thing with Rosa Parks, Emmett Till, and the Little Rock Nine. And then tomorrow, we will do the other things. The Birmingham Jail Letter, March on Washington, bonding of the churches. We'll finish those up tomorrow. Okay.
Who do you got?
I've got the Little Rock Nine.
You gotta speak louder for us.
It was when 9 black students wanted to go to Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas, and they were trying to stand against segregation. But the governor, they got the National Guard to come out, and President Dwight D. Eisenhower had to send federal troops to escort them into the house.
So what eventually happened? What eventually happened to Little Rock Nine, Kyle? Did they eventually get in school? It was a period of a month or 2 that took them to actually get in, and they finally did. They started trying, I think, in September, or maybe the 1st of September, they tried to go in, and they finally actually attended school on the 23rd. So that's important too.
So who escorted them in?
It was the federal troops. Dwight D. Eisenhower escorted the federal troops in.
Alright, so you can go next, Dylan.
Sure.
You got Mark.
I had Mark Luther King.
What did he become president for, Skylar?
Southern Christmas Conference. Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or SCLC.
Southern Christian Leadership.
He won the Nobel Prize.
Why did he become president for that, Skylar?
Oh,
He won $55,000 and he gave that all away to
yes, he helped establish it, and
civil rights groups.
there was something else I don't want to say.
Skylar, why do you think they would want Martin Luther King to be president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference? There's 3 important words there. Southern. Why would it be important for him to be the Southern?
Oh, because there are more blacks in the South.
There's more blacks in the South, and that's where the problems with what?
Well, with racism were.
Racism, exactly. Okay, so Southern. It's the Christian Leadership Conference. Why would he be appropriate for that?
Because, well, he's a Christian.
Yes, he was a pastor, right? He was a reverend. And then the leadership, he was one of the greatest leaders of all time, right?
I can't really sing that.
So the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. What else did you learn about Martin Luther King, Skylar?
Oh, well, as a couple things I learned that, well,
What was your third main idea?
it was March of Washington Monument to Lincoln Memorial for the I Have a Dream speech.
Okay, he gave that Have a Dream speech. And he organized that march. Do you remember what it's called?
Washington.
The March on Washington. Yes, he organized that. And that was when he gave his famous I Have a Dream speech. That's his most famous speech. All right, y'all doing a great job.
Did you do anything else that's real important?
So y'all are taking turns. We're doing one at a time. I like that. Okay.
Emmett Till was brutally murdered and tortured for flirting with a white woman on August 24th, 1955. That's the first main idea on Emmett Till. Alright, Joel, after we get this written down, you're going to tell us more about Martin Luther King. Okay?
Challenge the ideas about segregation.
It was August 24th, 1951. Julie, you want to go ahead and start reading this about Martin Luther King?
Alright, Jewel, tell us about Martin Luther King.
He won a Nobel Peace Prize in Norway and gave the money to civil rights.
Do you have a date on that?
In 1964.
Why did he win a Nobel Peace Prize? Remember, they don't know. What did he do?
He gave I have a thing message.
Alright. And where did he give that at?
And then,
What was the message for it? Let's see, speaking out again.
Working to secure civil rights that the blacks deserve.
Okay, working to secure the rights that the black people deserve.
And he was black, right?
Yes. Wanna know what you learned about Rose Hall? Alright, y'all are doing good.
That was one of the
Leslie, you getting it?
Okay, question.
Good?
Just get that last thing. Alright, Catherine, what was the third thing you had about,
her actions for civil rights movement, she was given many awards for her courage.
so she's trying to give him credit for just the whole movement.
Catherine, did she tell you in your reading about what they did with her body after she died?
She was honored in a way that presidents are, and
The only president. She was honored in a way that only presidents have been honored before. What did they do?
they placed her at the return.
She laid in state at the return at the Capitol for 2 days. People don't need her body. Alright, I want to call this one.
Alright, now, tell us what you learned about Mr. Emmett Till, the second idea.
His murder sparked the civil rights movement and set things in motion.
Number 2, he was murdered by a white man.
Where is he from, Kyle?
Oh, Chicago.
So were things any different in Chicago than they were?
Yeah, white people and black people, they all had the same.
Oh, so they were.
Yeah, they all treated the same. And in Mississippi, the blacks were still treated as slaves.
So he probably didn't know.
And even though, what he's trying to say, even though they were, he's saying they were still treated like slaves, they were still not given a good wage. Even though they were free from slavery, they weren't given fair pay for what they did, and they were still treated very poorly by people in the South, okay? So it was still very segregated, lots of racism here. And Emmett Till didn't have that to deal with in Chicago. That was all new to him.
It was different.
Lady, did you learn about?
I learned about World War I, and my favorite thing was the governor of Arkansas tried to keep Lord Rocknight out.
So even the government.
And yes.
Tell them more about that, Lenny, because that's an interesting story. What about it? What did he do?
The governor sent Arkansas National Guard to keep them out.
Yes.
The
And
governor of Arkansas was trying to keep these black students. The actual governor of the whole state is trying to keep these students out of school. And then what happened?
then a judge ordered him to get them off guard. But he ignored them. He ignored the judge, and President Dwight D. Eisenhower had to take charge and put the U.S. Army in, and there was about 1,200 Army people in there to help with them.
So what did the people in the school think? Did it say anything about like how the people in the school felt about it?
They weren't allowed to be in extracurricular activities, weren't allowed in any of those. And they were really mistreated. Some were beat up and kicked and really, yeah, mistreated most of the time.
All right, y'all got it all filled in over here?
despite the noise pain, Charlotte received everybody for he opted for an open cast beginning to let the people see what's going to happen because there was no way I could describe it.
Okay, tell them that again, Noah, that's important. His mother did what?
His mother said that she wanted to have an open casket for her son because she wanted to let the world see what happened because there's no way she could describe it. She wants to see what they did to her.
Okay.
in Mississippi.
You gotta remember that this kid is how old? 14 years old. He's the same age as you. And he was tortured and murdered in such a violent way that his body was in such terrible condition. His mother decided to have an open casket because she wanted the whole United States to see what they had done to their son.
Bill, you got anything to add?
He was arrested like 30 different times throughout his life for his resistance and civil rights movement.
But was he ever violent? Did he ever actually do anything that hurt anybody? Martin Luther King was all about peaceful protest.
Yeah, this happened, like I said, it took a long time for us to in September 1958, 1 year after Central High was integrated, Governor Favis closed Little Rock High School for the entire year pending a public permit act.
So this is the same guy, this is the same governor who told him what earlier?
They told them they wanted to get them up.
He sent in the National Guard the year before to stop these black students from coming. The president says, no, you're not gonna do that, you're gonna let them come. I'm gonna send troops to make sure they're able to come. And what does the governor do the next year?
They just shut school down.
That's his answer, shut the school completely down. Nobody in their school.
So National Guard and the governor didn't